Welcome to our podcast for UFC Vegas 96. We're going to be going over all the fights in the main card on this card like we always do, and I have a couple prelim picks that I just like to point out as good investments on PredictionStrike before we get into the main card. So without further ado, let's get into it. It's another card here at the Apex. Always brings some exciting odds, at least maybe not more exciting fights than the numbered cards, but definitely interesting, interesting prices on PredictionStrike, some new prospects. So,
alrighty. So UFC Vegas 96. Let's walk through it. So first one, Josiane Nunes. Walk us through this fight, Jackson.
So Josiane, I just had to throw on here because she's currently priced at $3.45. Her opponent, Jacqueline Cavalcanti, is over $9 on PredictionStrike, I believe. So we're getting, Josiane is still an underdog in most markets here, if not all markets, but definitely not to that extent. She's an enormous underdog, like by a factor of like almost 3-1 on PredictionStrike. So we're getting really good odds on the Nunes side of things, and I really do think she can win this fight. Cavalcanti is hot. She's riding a 4-fight win streak, but she is coming back after a full year away. There's going to be some ring rust there. Josiane lost to Chelsea Chandler in her last fight. However, she's 4-1 in her last 5. So she's a super powerful striker, throws absolute bombs, is almost always the fighter that's applying pressure coming forward. She's not the most skilled, but she is tough as nails, throws absolute bombs, not afraid of anything. She's small and compact. You can kind of just like tell from this picture of her that she's like a little freight train. But she like does not have any issues closing range at all. Chelsea was just able to like walk through the shots she was sending her way and eventually get it done because she's just so big. And Jacqueline is more of like a long striker, good footwork, decent leg kicks, just like technical striking. Isn't always the one pressuring the fight, but she can definitely find her rhythm. And when she does do that, she'll even throw in a takedown here and there. She doesn't, however, from at least from what I've seen in tape and stuff, she does not do well backing up, and that is literally all Josiane Nunes does is apply forward pressure. And Cavalcanti is almost a 2-1 favorite here, even though stylistically I think just being in a position where she could get taken advantage of here, just because she's so long. Nunes loves to come forward and is so compact with that low center of gravity. And she doesn't have a ton of skills, but I definitely see her being the one on the front foot the whole fight. She's going to bomb away like she always does. And I think she can hand Cavalcanti an L here. Her only loss in the last 5 is to Chelsea Chandler, who's a beast, plus Jacqueline has a year's worth of ring rust. So let's take the dog here and Josiane Nunes.
I like it. I remember watching her last fight and literally thinking to myself, I'm like, all this girl has is like the ability to knock someone out. Like,
yeah, exactly. She's
like, yeah.
Yeah,
it's all incoming.
She's definitely a headhunter.
All right. Victoria Leonardo. Ooh, Goku fit. Let's go. Anime.
Had to throw up the Goku fit picture. Just thought it was hard for this prelim spotlight. But so I wanted to shout this one out because actually, let me double check on this Leonardo price. There's a chance it could be an old one up. Okay, let's see here. So yeah, sorry guys. This is literally the only price on this whole thing that's wrong, I promise. But she's actually $2.18. Her opponent Kong Wang is going to be IPO'd, or actually is IPOing today at 3 p.m. Eastern. It might already be that in 8 minutes. Yep, at $6 a share. So we're getting a ton of value here. $2 fighter versus a $6 fighter. That price discrepancy is definitely reflected in the actual fight odds itself. I think Wang is like a minus 1,000 favorite or something right now.
1,300, yeah.
Yeah, which is insane. And
Jesus.
Yeah, this is why I wanted to shout out Victoria Leonardo, because it's just, I have no problem like shouting this out while also slightly leaning Wang's side. But I do think for as big of a dog as she is, she has a serious chance of winning this one. Victoria's been in the UFC for a super long time. She is coming back after a year off. And she's going up against Kong Wang in her UFC debut, who is a nasty kickboxer. She actually beat Valentina Shevchenko in kickboxing. And she definitely has MMA skills from what I've seen of her first 5 ranked MMA fights. Definitely has worked on her takedown defense, defended a few takedowns. She even has one takedown that she threw herself. Victoria is just well-rounded, versatile, not amazing at any one skill, but definitely applies pressure, is aggressive, and looks to wrestle you to the ground more often than not. Decent BJJ too, and like I said, doesn't have the most technical tools in any part of her fighting, but she makes up for that most of the time with her forward pressure. And Kong is an enormous favorite here. She should win. She's the far better striker. The foot movement's definitely there. The takedown defense absolutely needs to hold up for her though. And we've seen her working on it. She's gotten a little bit better at it, but is it really enough to hold up against a tried and true UFC veteran like Victoria Leonardo? Like Kong Wang, she did beat Shevchenko in kickboxing, but that is a completely different sport than MMA. I think she could actually make it happen here. I am going to be sprinkling a little bit.
I think I'm with
also,
you.
Realistically, I feel like you should never be making your debut as a minus 1,300 favorite. Like, that just feels fishy. Like, you just never know.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at this resume here, and it's like, obviously, you guys are a lot more in depth in the world of MMA than I am, but it's like, I'm familiar with a few of these names here. Like, these aren't small names.
Yeah, no, it's like she has had a great strength of schedule. Like Manon Fiorot, Melissa Gatto, Mandy Baum, Natalia Silva. Like, she is a really skilled fighter. And it's like since 2021, she's been given really, really tough opponents. And it's like, I don't know if we can really even compare Wang to any of the fights she's had.
There's probably good knowledge for why, right? Like, there probably is some solid logic, but that just seems so weird.
Yeah, it seems crazy when it's like we've pretty much seen zero wrestling out of Kong Wang.
Because the thing that I've just noticed is I feel like the wrestlers are just more often than not just the better picks, realistically.
I feel like you can just generally you can fall back on your wrestling more than you can just fall back on your striking if you're not insane at either of the two.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Realistically, this is probably a line that tightens up before the fight starts, because I feel like a lot of people are going to come to this similar conclusion. So if you feel this way, you should get this in sooner than later.
I would agree.
I'm doing that literally as we speak.
Yeah, it's actually not a bad call. But yeah,
I mean, who knows? We could see a knockout in 30 seconds too, and be like, oh well.
I mean, it could have generally just be there's levels to this, like you're saying, it's over. But that is, I don't know, dude, I get she got knocked out, but still, this is just crazy resume.
Yeah.
You stepping up to this competition. Anyways, we spent too long on that. Moving forward, Edmund versus Mearshart.
Do you know? This can go off or not, but do you know what I was thinking? Could you potentially hedge either just a prediction strike buy or a straight bet on Victoria Leonardo with an inside the distance no action bet on Kong Wang? If it goes to decision, the bet's just voided. But if it stays within the distance and Kong Wang wins, you win your money.
True. I'm curious to see. I want that. I can't wait for them to post props because honestly, I think this is another spot that's going to be DDP this past weekend. We were talking about. I think we just need to be hammering the wrestlers more often than not in MMA, because what is their kind of game plan? Get you to the ground and find a way to win there. And there's really I'd imagine if we did a data study on it, we would probably see there's a more a strong correlation with submissions. I feel like it just has to happen more often than not, because I don't know. Do you really see people just getting grounded and pounded into oblivion anymore? At least to the same extent?
I mean, definitely with these types of fighters, especially in women's MMA, no. But there definitely are ground and pound fighters. I do think are they actually gonna give us a Victoria by props line that's better than the money line? Because that's gonna be
probably
hype. Yeah.
Basically, if you're looking for ground and pound, dude, just find any Polish fighter.
Yeah.
The Polish. All right. With that being said, we move forward. All right, Edmund Shabazian versus Gerald Meerschaert. Walk us through this fight and how it should be going down.
Yeah, so we're moving on to the main card here. GM3 going up against Edmund Shabazian. In most markets here, GM3 is coming in as the dog at about a 2.5 to 1 dog. Pretty similar price-wise here on PredictionStrike. We're getting him at just about $1 cheaper than Edmund. And Shabazian's coming off a knockout win over AJ Dobson. GM3, tried and true vet, coming off that nice sub win over Brian Barberena. And we know GM3 is a super good grappler, has kind of seemed a little bit chinny in the recent past. And not the best offensive takedowns. If you like basically don't let him get you to the ground, you can just stay on the feet, piece him up. We did, however, see him shoot a really nice takedown against Brian Barberena, so maybe he's been actively working on his game there. But he's a tried and true vet. You know, you can expect him to pull things out like that. Like, he is a very good fighter. He's fought a lot of really good fighters. Edmund is definitely more of a striker, and that's going to be important here is his takedown defense against GM3. And he's a good striker, nice kicks, well-rounded guy. He does get taken down a lot, though. And that's because when he strikes, he is not light on his feet at all. He's not bouncing around. He just plants his feet and throws haymakers. Well, not haymakers. He just throws bombs, but he's not very light on his feet. He is a good striker. Takedown defense, like I said, not the best, 63%. And his get-up game, like, is not very good at all either. He's coming off that Dobson knockout. I like this as an upset pick here. I'm going to go GM3, probably by sub over Edmund Shabazian. It could easily just as well happen by points. I do think the sub is live here. Basically, it's a pretty simple 1-2. It's like, is Edmund going to be able to defend these takedowns from GM3? If he is, he wins the fight. If he's not, he doesn't, and I don't think he's going to be able to.
Fair enough. Sorry, I just saw Bauer's foot injury was kind of annoying me, so I was looking into that. Buddy and I were discussing.
Brock?
Yeah, well, he has. So
you know, around for a minute, right? Or
yes.
No?
Yeah. So I know we're talking about UFC here, but like, just to kind of take a side anecdote for those who you're there, however it is. Like, this is part of why I'm fading Mark Andrews, is this tightrope procedure. They both had this offseason or whatever. It's why I'm more concerned.
Yeah, Brock had it in like September of last season.
So it's just like, we're curious if like there's any correlation there. Doctors probably will say no, but it is something to keep in the back of your mind going into drafts. Moving forward, though, Neil Magny versus Michael Morales. I don't know why. I just feel like I'm getting an aura presence from Michael Morales over here.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it's just
this is crazy PS value as well.
Yeah.
We did see Neil Magny come off of a win in his last fight, but before that, he obviously lost to Ian Gary. And Morales feels like a guy who at 25 is capable of fighting a variety of styles. I mean, he's been a knockout artist throughout the early stages of his career so far. But in his last two fights, he's fought to a decision, and he's been content to kind of outpoint his opponents, winning both of those by unanimous decision, which I feel like is something that's somewhat rare that you see with a guy who's only 25 earlier on in their career. I feel like you see some of those guys kind of go all out for knockouts and stuff and aren't super mature about things early on, which is kind of like what you've seen with Ian Gary. There's been situations where people are like, you should have knocked out this guy, but he's content to just be like, I'm not going to put myself in harm's way and risk getting caught with something. So I kind of like that maturity here. I feel like he's a much more talented striker, and I feel like he's going to be able to piece up Neil Magny. I got him in this one. And on PS, this is like mandatory value. On other platforms, I mean, I feel like you could be a little more weary just because he is such a big favorite, but on here, this feels like a smash.
Yeah, I would say this is like the certified. There's one more in the main card, but this is like a certified PredictionStrike home run right here. And I love both of these guys. Neil Magny is kind of like the gatekeeper of this welterweight division. Had that shock win over Mike Malott in his last fight. And I also really love Michael Morales. He's Ecuadorian, super versatile, 5-0 in his last 5, and he's actually both the national wrestling champion of Ecuador. He's been the national champion and has also been the national Muay Thai champion of Ecuador. So this guy is insanely versatile, has been quietly just winning every single fight he gets put in. And he just beat Jake Matthews pretty comfortably. Crazy resume outside of MMA. Yeah, I think this is a home run here. I love Neil Magny and can't discredit him. I think he could easily win this. He's been known to stop people in huge upsets. He is the veteran, so to speak, of the two.
Sure.
But I mean, Mike Malott was beating his ass for a few rounds before he snuck out that finish. Yeah, I'm going Michael.
He's
Borralho.
just he's a gatekeeper of the ranked part of this division. He's like kind of right below that level, and if you beat him, then you're capable of getting bigger and bigger fights, like we've seen with Ian. And I feel like Morales is closer to the caliber of those kind of fighters than he is with the non-ranked opponents here. So
I agree. It is the exact type of fight that Magny would come out and win, though. But it's definitely Michael Morales. Like you can't think Neil Magny is going to come out and beat Morales.
Yeah, maybe you stay away from it on a consensus market because I mean Morales is like a minus 1,000 favorite, so it might not be worth the risk there. But on PS, I mean this is a no-brainer.
Did he actually get bet up to a minus 1,000 favorite?
That's what I'm looking at on ESPN right now, but I'm not
Holy
positive
hell.
if that's a real number.
Jesus. That's crazy. Well, yeah, you heard it here first.
Alrighty. Moving on to our next bet. We got Ryan Loder versus Robert Valentin. I don't have anything to say. I just got a guy looking at me going, yeah! And I got him like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do.
On ESPN, this says it's a title fight?
Yeah, it's the Ultimate Fighter title fight.
Oh, okay,
yeah. Which is like whatever, kind of. It's the middleweight finale of Ultimate Fighter. But Loder is this is UFC debut, after like a pretty good Ultimate Fighter run. Valentin is coming off a finish win in the Ultimate Fighter that got him this finale spot against Loder. And in most markets, Valentin, I think, is the favorite. PS is pretty much reflecting what most markets are saying in our prices this week. And Loder is pretty much just a wrestler. He'll come forward, shoot takedowns, or work you against the cage. Super low volume when he's striking. It just doesn't throw many at all. But once he gets a takedown, he's very much so a leech. It's super hard to get up from him. His control is super good. Does not look for the finish very often, but he basically just aims for control time. And Valentin is more of a striker. He does have finishing ability everywhere, though. Low hands when he strikes. Definitely willing for a firefight. Is kind of hittable. Pays to play a lot of the time and does not shoot too many takedowns, but he definitely can and has before. His takedowns actually saved him to get this finale spot here, this Ultimate Fighter finale spot in his last fight. Grappling is definitely there. He's a pretty good grappler. He is super flashy, though, like throws a ton of spinning attacks, which is kind of perfect for Loder's style. Like, if anybody's going to get a finish in this fight, it's going to be Valentin. But I just think eventually, like kind of a similar situation here as the GM3 fight. Like I'm picking another wrestling underdog here. I think similar thing's going to happen. He's going to be able to get inside the clinch, like get him down onto the ground and just wait out that control time. Not convinced Valentin's going to be able to knock him out. He has pretty low level of competition through his career. Basically, you're just going to bank on Loder to the takedowns here.
Alrighty. Well, that said, I like the takedowns. I like submissions. We move forward. Angela Hill versus Tabitha Ritchie. Alrighty. How's this one work?
I like Tabitha here. The PS value as well is hard to deny. But I just think she's more capable of taking this fight. I mean, it's going to be a fight that goes to the distance. It'll go all 3 rounds, and it feels like Tabitha, who averages around 2.5 more takedowns per fight, it feels like she's in a spot where she can kind of get some top control there and kind of just outpoint Angela Hill here. I don't see this being like a super exciting fight, but I feel like I trust Tabitha on the feet and also on the ground to kind of be able to cause some chaos there, and if nothing else, just kind of outpoint her on the ground there. So I'm going to lean Tabitha here, but it's a super even fight. I mean, any consensus platform has this one exactly even right now, and you could get a little extra value on PS there too. So that's nice.
Yeah, this is a really tough one to call. I think currently, you're getting better odds than most places on PS for Baby Shark. You're getting worse odds for Angela Hill. Mama Shark. All right. That's enough of that. But yeah, we got Baby Shark against Angela Hill. I think this is insanely hard to call. She, like, Angela is kind of like Magdi. She gets matched up against prospects, but she actually like beats them most of the time. She's 40 years old now. Doesn't really look to be slowing down too much at all, though. We know that women's MMA fighters tend to have far longer careers than do men. So she is generally like not a finisher at all, even though she got, I think it was her first finish in like 10 fights in her last fight. She's mostly a high volume striker, is kind of long and uses that length well. No real power at all. She's a decision fighter. Super high fight IQ, veteran, good cardio, good footwork. She just needs to avoid the takedowns here, like Grant said, from Baby Shark in order to win this one. Tabitha's coming off the win over Tisha Pennington. It was kind of like a bounce back win. And Angela's win was over Luana Pinheiro. Tabitha is a good grappler, definitely a better grappler than Angela Hill. Throws a bunch of strikes, super high pressure, looks to get it to the ground. And her takedowns, while they aren't the best, she is really good on the ground, works for positions well, and can operate some ground and pound, which is good in scrambles. I think there's a route here for either of these guys to win, or either of these girls to win this fight. Richie, she has so much forward pressure that she definitely can win fights where she gets outstruck. And she's good at closing out rounds, so she could steal one. But I think I'm going to lean Angela Hill here. I think I'm going to go Angela Hill. I don't know if Richie's going to be able to get the takedowns on her. She went 1 of 10 on takedowns, I think, in her last fight against Tisha Pennington. So if Tisha defended 9 of those, I think I'm going to trust Angela to defend those.
We might have to make this a little spice guy.
I agree. I think this could be a good one for that.
To double up next week.
All right. Doubling it up for next week. Moving on forward. Jared Cannonier versus Caio Borralho. Interesting prospect versus certified talent. Good price difference, though.
Yeah.
Walk us through this one. And age difference as well.
You have to take Borralho on PS. Like, it's just mandatory. I'm sure this was the other fight Jackson was talking about when we were bringing up the value earlier. It's undeniable. He's like I believe a 2.5 to 1-ish favorite versus Cannonier on any consensus market. And here you get him at basically half the price, which is just crazy. And I think it's mandatory for you to be on the Borralho side of this one. If I was just looking at it straight up, I do think Cannonier is very live in this fight. He is coming off a loss, but before that had 2 straight wins, one against Sean Strickland and against Marvin Vettori. His last 10 fights, I would say, are all against a different caliber of fighter than anybody Borralho has ever faced in the UFC. Cannonier's been through it all. He's seen it all. Lost a title fight. He's fought the upper echelon in this division, and I think the experience level there could be big. I feel like if you were looking at it from a different market, Cannonier is a guy at plus 200 that you could absolutely convince yourself to get behind here, because I just don't know if you can fully trust the caliber of fighter that Borralho has fought. His last fight coming against Paul Craig, which Cannonier would piece up and has been past that caliber of fighter for 5 years now.
He did knock him out though, and he's a wrestler.
He did, which is worth noting because that's a tough guy. But I think on a consensus market here, Cannonier is very live, and I'm not. Yeah. I'm a little scared of that price, but on PS, this is a lock it and forget it, no brainer type of situation.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think like I would 100% tell anybody like full confidence to invest in Caio on PredictionStrike here, but he Cannonier is definitely a live dog. It's like kind of like what Grant was saying. He's a super high level guy. He's only really ever lost, or at least recently lost, to the best fighters in the world, and Caio definitely isn't there yet by any means, but he could be that guy for sure. And it's like I've seen the skills from Caio, like he doesn't have good striking. He just got a knockout win. He's an insane wrestler and grappler. He's 16-1 coming out of one of the most like dominating camps in the entire world right now in the Fighting Nerds. Prates, Bruno, Jean Silva, like all of those guys are getting wins. So ton of talent and, like winning energy around him right now. So I think the Caio pick is a smash hit here.
Sounds good. We expecting to get it done inside the distance?
I mean, not really. Like I wouldn't put my 100% faith in that. He could.
It's pretty even. It's sitting at -105 for over, -125 for under, 4.5.
-125 for under. Okay, yeah. I mean, that makes sense, but it's like the fact that it's a 5-round fight and it's that close to
odds. Yeah, there's more room for something to happen.
Yeah, they're expecting like kind of like a little bit of points fighting here because the odds for it to go over so much.
That market change a lot as this week goes on as well. We'll keep an eye on it, but I feel like this fight could easily go the distance. I wouldn't be surprised with either outcome.
For sure, same.
100%. All right. With that said, though, I think that was the last fight here, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, if you haven't already, make sure you've subscribed. I like to think that Jackson and Grant do a phenomenal job of walking you through each one of these cards to help you find the best investments possible. I try to ask the questions to help you guys along the way that are helpful. Let us know down below what you guys want to know more about. We'll keep on diving into that. But with that said, excited to see how this card's going to work out. Very excited for this Caio fight here. It's going to be a fun one. But the one that's really caught my eye is not this one. It's this one. Victoria Leonardo. This is going to be our girl this week, our little Goku.
Go buy your Victoria Leonardo shares.
We're excited.
She's $2.18. You're not actually getting her at $3.56, so you can get way more shares.
Versus what, 6?
No, versus 3. It says $3.56 on the.
No, but isn't the?
Oh yeah, $6 for Kongwei. So huge inherent value there, guys.
Love that. With that said, if you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, and tell us your favorite color. Talk to y'all next time. Peace, y'all.